Gris Box. How Gris Box does the work of artist Betye Saar to reach across barriers of art and life to build new understandings. Betye Saar is a well-known female artist among the Black community. She considers herself a narrative artist. Behind Betty's art, she tends to be inspired by the African American tradition. She's intrigued with combining the remnant of memories, fragments of relics and ordinary objects with the components of technology. It's a way of delving into the past and reaching into the future simultaneously. In her artwork, Saar voices her political, racial, religious, and gender concerns in an effort to reach across the barriers of art and life to bridge cultural diversities and forge new understandings. She discovers many of the pieces in her work at swap meets in the Los Angeles area and at flea markets in Mexico. These carefully chosen objects are reinterpreted and redefined through her placement. Each one of her art pieces have a deep-rooted meaning which could vary between personal struggle, accomplishments, and history. She was also a huge part of the Black art movement in the 1970s. During this movement, much of the artwork often alienated both white and Black mainstream culture with their raw shock value which often embraced violence. She contributed in this movement with Gris Box, which is being showcased at the Museum of Contemporary Art. Betye Saar's approach to Gris Box was considered to her as an ancestral box. Gris is another term for mojo. Mojo could be a magic, charm, talisman, or spell. Analyzing further into this art piece, the figure in the middle is that of an African woman surrounded by feathers, beads, and a few spherical shapes that represent the planets. This could be a belief in the powers of astrology. The hair that's suspended from the bottom of the box also references hoodoo or traditional healing practices. If you take a closer look at the outer trim of the box, you'll notice that there are 3 eyes. The third eye that is on top of the collage is important because it is regarded as the inner eye in various spiritual traditions. In many of her artworks, Saar conveys an inner and more complicated message. Gris Box is no exception. For instance, Gris Box was the expression of her fascination with the interplay between revealing and concealing. As mentioned previously, it was through art that she could voice her political, racial, religious, and gender concerns. This in turn would lead to bridging gaps. The 70s were a time when it was becoming socially more acceptable for women to express themselves. However, there were still topics considered taboo. Gris Box may be representing some taboo themes such as sexuality and African fetishes. This would be more apparent to the owner of the item. By putting the women in a box, she is metaphorically representing that women are capable of concealing inner mysteries. Following her path to voice her racial and gender concerns, she continued to create art that forged new understandings. Along with Gris Box, it is important to include one of her most well-known pieces, The Liberation of Aunt Jemima. In this artwork, an African American woman resembling Aunt Jemima is inside a 3D box holding a gun in one hand and a grenade in the other.
And the rifle were symbols of empowerment?
Yes.
Yes. Will you expound on that?
Well, people say, well, are you for violence? I said, no, I don't really like guns. But if you want to get somebody's attention, all you have to do is have a gun. And so that was like the hand grenade is something that you throw would be like, you would have your power, you empowered yourself, you would throw it out there, you would use that as a weapon. So that's what they stood for, as symbols of empowerment.
Again, we see the theme of revealing and concealing at play where women are placed in a contained area. There is also a postcard of a mammy holding a biracial baby, and the background is plastered with Aunt Jemima product labels. Saar states that this was a protest piece. She would often take derogatory images in the hopes of converting them into something with a positive view.
It became part of my signature too, in working with derogatory images and changing their role, that the image themselves would get your attention, but then there's another layer of meaning behind it.
This kind of approach towards her art is why she was considered an inspirational and unique artist during the Black art movement. Currently, Gris Box is still relevant and replicas can be found for purchase online, believed to be a charm for good luck and protection. Her other works, which cause controversy, continue to be signature pieces of Saar and have earned her numerous awards of distinction. Betye Saar's art teaches people about the world, acceptance, and empathy. Since images shape who we are and what we think, she would be credited with reaching across barriers of art and life to build new understandings.